This service is credit. Access code accepted. There are 13 participants in this conference.
88.1 WHBR, live report. At this show, Amalia, Virgin Islands.
SOS Graphic Design provides agency quality professional graphic design services from established companies with well-trained creating a simple logo to complete rebranding and delivering visual communication with team. Everything SOS Graphic Design does has a single unifying objective: to set your business apart. We are at your service. Call 313-342-2166. That's 313-342-2166 or online at www.sosgraphicdesigns.com.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of W33CY, its affiliates, management, or sponsors. Brothers and sisters, are you tired of reading the Holy Scriptures and not contemplating the spread? And if are you reasonable, sure. Have you ever tested that way to view? No, someone may have different their own. And let's talk to one another. Let's read on Scriptural Discussion.
The recording has started.
Live broadcast every Sunday at 12.
This conference is being recorded. Q&A session has started.
Brother Michael, you can leave it off of Q&A for now. If we have to, then you go back and do that.
All participants are muted and they can unmute themselves. Q&A session is over.
You can call it live. 868-42-868-251. According to area code 3. That's 313-868-4368-868-0342 and 868-0351. And now let's go live. Scriptural Discussion.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just, I greet you all once again who have the hunger and thirst for Allah's word. His guidance in righteousness and his understanding of that guidance. I greet you all with the greeting words of peace. May Allah's Salam Alaikum. I want to, before I get into any subject matter that I want to go into, I want to give those who have disagreements with me. Let me say this to you. Any person who wants to stand before you and petition you for your allegiance, that does not have respect enough for you to hear your disagreement, does not deserve your allegiance. For true allegiance has to be based on trust. That's what you cannot expect people who don't trust you to give you their allegiance. That's one of the reasons that, if Allah didn't want me to learn something, from growing up in America, I wouldn't have been born here. Whatever our circumstances are, it is by God's permission. If a leaf does not fall to the earth without his knowledge, then neither does a baby. As this experience of us here in America was not something that was put on us to punish us. It was any more than a scientist puts a potential, puts an antigen. If I'm mistaken for what I'm calling it, you who know something about chemistry or whatnot, you can correct me. I'm not claiming to know more about the laboratory than a lab technician. But when the scientist cultures a virus or cultures a disease and takes an antigen and drops that antigen that he has made a few modifications on into that disease, into that cultured disease, he's not doing it to punish the antigen. He's doing it to see if that antigen can be a potential cure for that culture. Abraham was God's friend. He told his friend, your seed is going to be a stranger in a culture that is not theirs, in a land that is not theirs. And they're going to serve them. Well, naturally, that was a horror to Abraham. Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. They shall serve them, Abraham. And they shall afflict them 400 years. Abraham didn't ask, well, why? Why are you going to let that happen? Abraham heard it and knew that Allah is the best knower. But I remember when I was a little boy, I remember in elementary school, I learned this, and I never forgot it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. But that word allegiance, it means loyalty. It means I won't turn on you. It means I will be there with you, be there for you. But it was based on trust. Every patriotic man and woman was taught patriotism as a child, and never did anyone in the government or the parental role. George Washington was called the what? The father of his country. letting you know that you don't run the country as president like a business, you run it like a father. And what father does not care about his own children? What president does not care about all of the people of his country? I want to say to those who are the patriots who are waking up, first, I want you to know that I don't wish America any harm. I don't have to wish harm on another people or another nation while complaining because they wished harm on mine. So to the patriots of this nation that see something is wrong and is now going after it and waking up, you have my support and you have my prayers. And we used to hear people say that anybody can be president of the United States. Well, that is true and false at the same time. And now we have proof. Anybody can get elected to be president, but anybody can't be president. It takes more. It's just like any man that's fertile can get a woman pregnant and produce an offspring. But any man can't be a father. So, I have to, when I'm speaking, since nobody is above me that's in flesh yet. I'm the Son of Man, then I'm the Lord of everybody. But I have a Lord too, right up here in my brain. And I have to always, that's one thing about when I think it was President Truman that said, at least I've heard people say, that he had a sign on his desk that said, the buck stops here. It's impossible to be a father and not be self-conscious. When the reason that a person will stand up in a mirror and check themselves, look at themselves front and back, that's an example of self-consciousness. They want to know what they look like and how they will appear to others. Well, a leader, a father, has to care how he appears to his family. Not just physically, appearance by sight, but appearance also by mental estimation, character. So he will try If I say something that if I don't get it quite right, we always welcome someone to make more perfect what we did not get quite right. That's something else that I gained a lot more respect for as I've been trying to unite my people. The preamble to the Constitution, it explains what the purpose of drafting up the Constitution is. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, a more perfect unity, a more complete unity. You should never object to someone making your ideas or your understanding more perfect, more complete. Knowledge, truth, transcends flesh. Truth is independent of all flesh. There are no new truths. There are only newly discovered truths. There's no new matter, only newly discovered matter. If it's here, it was always here. If it's true, it was always true. It didn't just become the truth because you discovered it. But it did just become one of the facts that you are now able to present. So, as I tried to tell the current president, it is not a disgrace to acknowledge, brothers and sisters, you put me in this position, but I now see that it's beyond my capabilities, and I'm going to step down. That's not something that is to be looked upon as a failure on the part of a man. That's one of the first signs of manhood. One of the first signs of manhood is to recognize your limitations and be able to say, thanks for offering, thanks for having that kind of trust in me, but I ain't the one. But most people in this world, they don't see things that way. That's why you got the Black community with all these so-called leaders. And you look at all of our poverty all over this country. You look at all of our murdering of each other, our mistreating one another. And you look at all these people as leaders giving each other awards and banquets and all of this kind of thing. And you start to realize a fact that blind people are leading blind people. Children are in charge where adults need to be. So if some of you have something you want to, I mean, me sitting up talking about, well, our president. And as long as I'm in America, whether I like it or not, he's our president. And he does not represent the best of what we are. He reminds us of the worst of what we were. I mean, there was a time when I wouldn't have bothered to have a kind word to say about no white person, whether they deserved me talking ill against them or not, regardless to the good that they. A good example, when I first accepted Islam, I understood it on the level that the messenger said. He said, you go by his color because you didn't know who was up under the color. Now, I didn't hear that at the time. I heard that after the messenger passed away, when I got the Theology of Time lectures. But there was a Caucasian couple that were friends with my mother and father, and I called them my aunt and uncle. Aunt Francis and Uncle Kenneth. And from the time I was a little boy, I knew. And Aunt Francis, every time she saw me, she would run and hug me. And Kenneth, Uncle Kenneth, he would just be beaming and grinning and going on. And every birthday. Now, you know how many candy bars you could get with a nickel. You could get a candy bar for a nickel. Every November the 26th, I would get a birthday card, and it was addressed to Master Marvin A. Taylor. And I used to love when my birthday come around. So I get a crisp $1 bill from Maine Francis and Uncle Kenneth. And every time I saw them as I was growing up, their attitude never changed. I remember once I asked, I was their favorite, I had 9 other brothers and sisters. Well, 8, because one died, but they took a special interest in me. It seemed to me they did, because they didn't do a lot of things for the others that they did for me. But anyway, one Christmas I asked for. They asked me what I wanted for Christmas. I said I want a punching bag set, the kind that they stand up and hit. I got it, and I didn't know it. I'd never used that thing. Didn't know what to do with it. But they were always so, kind to us. And they lived in Sherman Oaks, California, and we lived in Watts. I don't know how my mother and dad met them, but anyway, when I accepted Islam after I got back from Vietnam, as you heard, Brother Donald, he met me right after I was, a year out of the service. And I accepted Islam, and my little brother, James, he asked me, he said, well, you run around here talking about the white man and the devil. He said, what about Aunt Francis and Uncle Kenneth? And I thought about it. And I looked at him, I said, they the devil. And I never called them. I never spoke to them. I'm glad I didn't, because I would have probably insulted them and hurt them. And so now understand something. I know the white man is the devil, but I also know that it's not because he's white. You see, and that's the difference now. So there ain't no more curse gonna be on nobody that don't want one on them. Whosoever will, let him come and drink the water of life, the word of God, freely. And if you let this mind be in you, it will transform you. And then even Satan himself will be transformed into an angel of light. So I'm not here to, because if I saw Aunt Francis and Uncle Kenneth now, I know they probably done passed away, but I'd give them a big hug and thank them for all the good that they did for me when I was a little boy. And if you cannot recognize good that people do for you, then you are pretty much lost, because it makes you ungrateful. Surely man is ungrateful. So, you know, I want to help as many of you as I can. The book says, be not conformed to this world. That means the way of this world. It's like that song that Earth, Wind, and Fire made. I don't know which one of them brothers wrote that song, but was it Maurice? Whichever one of them wrote it. That song was a deep song. A child is born with a heart of gold, and the way of the world makes his heart grow cold. Hearts of fire create love, desire. Takes you higher and higher to the world you belong. We created the gen of intensely hot fire, of the nature of intensely hot fire. You notice the fire never says it's enough. I don't care how much you feed it, it never get full. How many of you are like that? No matter what someone does for you, no matter how much good you receive, no matter how much wealth you get, no matter how many, how much stuff you accumulate, you just can't say that's enough. I'll tell you why you can't say it's enough. Because you're trying to fill a spot inside of you that stuff can't fill. You're looking for peace, but you're looking in the wrong places. Peace has only one author, and that is God. He fixed it that way. By now, you should have been so hungry and thirsty, since you done seen everybody that go after mammon. Mammon, that's what the scripture called material wealth and all that kind of stuff. Just mammon. You go after that. No matter how much of it they get, you ain't seen one yet that was at peace. So this world can give you everything but peace. And it is only a peaceful mind that can truly have compassion. You can deceive yourself as though you have compassion, but look at the world around you. Where do you see compassion? You go to you have a loved one that dies. You go to the mortuary, and the people in the mortuary, they deal with you with the form, in the form of a compassionate person. But they can't really be sorry that you died, that your loved one died, because they make their living by the death of loved ones. So everybody reminds me of that song by George Benson, Masquerade. So, you know, when we truly have the love of God in us, when I say the love of God, I don't mean like most people think that, you know, like you love when someone is the object of your love. I mean the love that comes from God. Then you don't see people as dollar signs. Then you start to realize why this world must come to an end. Because this world is a world that is set up like a wilderness where the strong capitalize off of the weak. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is strength. Ignorance is weakness. And the strong devour the weak. I see it all the time on the internet. People say these 5 foods are something you should avoid, or this is a cure for this and this. And you go to look at it, and by the time you get there, you got a video you got to watch, and then you got a sales pitch you got to listen to. In other words, I will share my knowledge of how to help you with you, but you got to pay me for it. The truth is for sale. I just can't do that. You know, because it makes a mockery. My own conscience would whip me to death. And I just can't do it. You know, I can't commercialize off of other people's suffering. That's why, you know, I understood. You know, I understand what the premise is behind the state-run healthcare system. They call it socialism, when all it is just a dark version of of the future heaven and earth. It's not a perfect shadow of it, but it is a shadow of things to come. As the Constitution, it recognizes in the preamble that it is not a perfect union that we have, but we are hoping to make it more perfect than what we are used to, than what we have had. And that's a good thing. It's nothing wrong when you see somebody trying to do something better than it was. You know, it makes you really feel like they worth trying to do something for. If they on their way to destruction, and make you feel like you need to try to save them. Yeah. So that's why the messenger told you. He said, if God wants to continue to let them live on the earth, that's him and God. You just get the part that he give you and don't be worried over his. The earth is big relative to us. And it's enough of it for them to have some and for you and me to have some. But we are tired of evil. We're tired of wickedness. We're tired of bloodshed, bigotry, racism. You will either stop it or I have the authority to stop it myself. I think you would much rather you do it. I had a recurring dream I know I was having it for weeks, that people were trying to kill me, and I just told them die, and they fell dead. So maybe I'm losing it. I don't know. You never know. You know, it is intelligent, I think, before you start telling other people that they crazy, that you should first ask yourself, are you crazy? I remember my teacher taught me, he said, before first before you look at others and let me make sure I say it right. He said, first look at self before ever you accuse others of what may be your own fault. Yes. So I ask myself, I argue with myself all the time. When I'm sure ain't nobody around listening, I even talk to myself. so I have had moments where I thought out loud and had to correct myself. And none of those around me is wise enough to recognize something that I say that may not be totally accurate. So I have to make sure that I check and double check. That's one of the reasons why they taught us in math that when I was in elementary school, they taught us to, in addition, multiplication, subtraction, they always taught us how to check the problem. Check your own work. See, I heard something on television. Things are just coming to me now.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
How you doing?
I live in Black Hawk.
I didn't hear you.
This asshole. Open to God.
What did she say? Okay, Brother Michael, you can put her out. Understand something. When Jesus went to speak to over in the land of the Gergesenes, there was one who was possessed of all kind of evil thoughts. That's what devils are. And all the devil could do is cry out and I told you they can't argue with me. So if they cannot make me or provoke me to act foolish, then there's nothing that they can do. You see? So that's what you get with people like that. You see, so they are miserable. There's a song that say, there ain't no room for the hopeless sinner. Who would hurt all mankind just to save his own. Have pity on those whose chances grow thinner. For there is no hiding place from the kingdom's throne. The whole earth is becoming my property. Now it's reverting back to me. See, and everybody own it. And everything in it. And that's what the book told you. Even it's in the Revelation, it says the kingdoms of this world, which was Satan's kingdoms. Remember, he took Jesus up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and said, all this power was given unto me and the glory of them. And I give it to whom I please, whom I will. Well, in the book of Revelation, it says the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ. It's all mine now. You see? Yeah, I might be crazy. And then again, I might not be. I remember Ronald Reagan used to say, President Reagan used to say, We go err on the side of caution. Them were some wise words. So, all right. Now, you notice I take a little from here, a little from there, and something old, something new, something borrowed. Go to hell. Go to hell. Amen. And amen. You didn't expect that, did you? Now, you know, you should never make me fall on you. The scripture said, whoever that stone fall on, and grind them to powder. Didn't I give anybody who have a disagreement with me? Didn't I say you could come in and express it and we can discuss it? Then why do you feel the need to come into our religious class and use profane babbling? So you followed your devils, and now they done got you what you deserve. Whosoever of them will follow you, I will what? I will certainly fill hell with you all. Stings a little, don't it? So let's, I want to show you something that, you know, the messenger told you about me. He said that the Son of Man, he said, the Son of Man, he's so wise and powerful that he makes everything of the creation to bear him witness. Then makes you and me bear witness that this is the judgment. You know, it's just like these people that they do all of their they talk about Pluto way out there, that dwarf planet, and let him go over there on the couch next to his mom. And 4 billion, I think 4,600,000,000 miles away from the sun. The scripture says this people, you know, as I remember on Sunday mornings, when I was growing up, every business, you didn't see no white people opening up their stores. They shut them down. And the churches, all churches, you heard bells ringing, some on the Catholics, and they, you know, I mean, it just, Sunday, the streets didn't hardly have no traffic on them. Between, 10 and 1 o'clock, people was at church, at Sunday school and at church. And everybody, even now, you can turn on, you can always find somebody on the air talking about praise God or hallelujah. And most of them don't even know what hallelujah means. You know, because the Lord is here and they hollering praise the Lord and then cuss the Lord out when I say something to them. So but their hearts are like Pluto, way out there, 4,800,000,000 miles away. I mean, 600 million miles away from the sun. Their hearts is far from me. But you see, they still in my room listening to me. Can't stop listening. And you know good and well, nobody that's talking foolishness could get people that hate them to keep on listening to them. You got to be talking truth in order to hold the attention of people who would otherwise write you off as nothing. Do you understand? So this is Allah's way of letting you know that even my enemies, in a way, are at peace with what I'm saying. They're not attacking what I'm saying, they're attacking me. Huh? They come in here to insult me. They don't want to argue with the truth. You know, that's the old trick of the devil. If you can't deal with the message, attack the messenger. You can't deal with what he's saying, attack him. Do you understand? Cloud the issue. Make it about him. As I already told you. I mean, if I'm not the Lord, all you gotta do is come in here and show me why not. That should not be hard. Let me see you get up and say you the Lord and invite me to come in there. I'll show you why you are not. Because I was told to say I am. How many of you all can change the stars? I can. And I'm going to. When you know how to do something, it ain't impossible. Told you with God, all things are possible. Well, Allah is the truth. You used to have people talking about man can't fly. We know better now. Is that right? Now, let me hear one of you wise people out there tell me there may be somebody out there that know how to do that. You know how to change the stars? Come on now, that's material. That's natural stuff there. You know where I got that from? I got that from Hollywood. Let me show you. Give me a minute. Just a minute.
Someday, I'll be a knight.
A knight? You want to work like a change the stars?
Can be done, Father. Can a man change the stars?
He believes another man can do anything.
Can a man change the stars?
Yes. He believes enough man can do anything.
Can a man change the stars? And his daddy told him, yes, son. Yes, William. If he believes enough, a man can do anything. You remember when Yoda told Luke, he said, explaining the Force to him. And Luke said, I'll try. He said, there is no try. You know why there is no try? I remember the messenger, Minister Abdul Kareem, told us. He said, the messenger said, try is a weak word used by weak people. When you know the truth of how to do a thing, it's done before you get started. It's just a matter of time before the rest of the people will understand it. But in your mind, it's already done. Because you knew the truth of how to do it. There is no try. Try is a word that expresses the weakness in your understanding. But if you believe that it can be done, then while trying and attempting, if you call on Allah, who's always closer to the believer than their lifespan, while you are trying, Allah will whisper to you, do this or do that. Well, sometimes he will let you go on your own because you didn't call on him. But he likes your tenacity, so he will let you learn from your mistake. Do you understand? And while you do it, when you try it that time, you say, I don't know how. I know what I can do. That's when it's time to say, all praise is due to Allah. Do you understand? But anyway, living is fun. Just ain't no fun when you're only living on one level, living on your belly. But when you're upright, you notice man's feet is on the earth, but his head is in the heavens. So you are aware that there are 7 layers of atmosphere over there. Yeah. So we are both natural and we are spiritual creatures. You see. So for me to stand and speak with you like this on this level sends a message to the current ruler that he's no longer in charge. And if he don't hurry up and submit, when he does decide to submit, it will be like when Pharaoh saw the water closing in over him. It's too late to say Allah is the greatest now. You're going to drown anyway. So, but anyway, I talk like this in front of the whole world. It's just like they want to try to take credit and now for the seeming slowdown in ISIS. It's not a coincidence that those who want to be Muslims now are putting their weapons down and whatnot. I told them to. When the truth comes to you and you claim you're a Muslim, and now I've given everybody a chance to show that I'm not the Mahdi. If I'm the Mahdi, then everyone who claims to be Muslims belong to me. And you follow my instructions. We are not here to spread Islam with death and bloodshed. I'm here with the new Islam. That which you called Islam was not Islam, but for 6,000 years. That was what Allah told Iblis. He said, my Lord, I'm going to make evil fast seeming to them on earth and cause all of them to deviate, except your prophets, the purified ones. How you know it's talking about the prophets? Because the book said there ain't none righteous, no, not one. But the prophets were purified. And he couldn't make Jesus deviate. He couldn't make none of the prophets deviate. And Allah, through Prophet Muhammad, he showed them that he told Muhammad, he said, persecution is worse than slaughter. Fight back and I'll fight with you. And Muhammad was victorious over the infidels. To show you that if Allah want to fight you physically, you will lose. But you cannot establish peace through murder. There's no such thing. Because the people that you murder are loved by other people. So how do you expect to have peace while some people want revenge on you? So the way of peace you have not known, calling physical warfare jihad, is a misrepresentation of the very word jihad. Jihad means holy war. There's nothing holy about rifles and bullets and bombs. Holy war is the war where people misrepresent Allah's words and have man murdering his fellow man, going in the way of Cain. Cain murdered his brother, and that's what all of you are doing, murdering your own family. For God made all nations of men from one blood. That's not just taught in the Christian church, that was taught in the temples of Islam by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said the black man is the father of all human beings. I don't care how much you support Donald Trump. Donald Trump is wrong. And you want to come in here cussing at me because I'm stating a fact. Even Donald Trump ain't sending out no tweets about me. You better take a lesson. Your silly self. You know, water can fool you sometimes. It may look cool and it could still be scalding hot. Now, by nature, water is cool. But fire getting next to it, water start heating up. Next thing you know, it done boiled over on you. Even hot water, scalding hot water, still put fire out. Anyway, now, you heard his daddy tell him, you know, if you believe enough, a man can change anything, can do anything. Now tell me how we change the stars. First thing you have to do is believe that it can be done. Once you believe that it can be done, then you don't defeat yourself from seeking how it can be done. But why should a person seek to do something that they already done made up their mind can't be done? I'm going to change all the stars. Just like when I'm the stars of heaven. Jesus, Moses, David, Solomon. You notice. You heard Billy Bush say how nervous he used to be when he's around stars, right? When he got used to rubbing elbows with them, he said he's not nervous no more because he don't see them as stars now like he used to. He see them as peers because he's one of them. I'm changing the way you look at all of the people you used to look up to. And the more your mind is raised up, the more I'm changing the stars around you. Because now you don't look up to them like you used to. You know, the reason that stars look so bright is because the sky that they are in is so dark. When your mind is unenlightened, it's dark. And so people that are not in quite as much darkness as you look very bright to you. Now you see, you and I, we are standing on the planet Earth. But there's a whole lot of planets out there that we're going to be terraforming and changing. And as you move from one of them planets to another, you changing stars. You're not going to see the stars the same way you looked at them when you was on the Earth. Do you understand? There you go. So, see how simple that was? All right. Everything is hard when you don't know how. Everything is simple when you know the truth of how to do it. You see, what is a miracle to some people is an everyday happening to others. I'm showing you why, in order for them to rule, we had to go to sleep. Now you understand why that it was against the law to allow the black man to learn to read and write. And you see how much I get out of things that other people don't see nothing. Now, how in the world are you going to rule me? I got to go to sleep. Well, I'm not sleeping no more. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all what? Well, they told you I was going to change the stars. Is there? It does not yet appear what we shall be, but we shall be like him when he appears. Is that right? Well, okay. They knew I was going to change everybody. If you practice Islam and watch me as I practice the religion in front of you, and you will see that those whom you deemed enemies will be as though he was a warm friend. One thing about human nature, unless the person is insane, people will tend to respond in kind to whatever you do to them. Everything starts with yourself. If you want other people to respect you, respect other people. And whatever you put out, show them that you're willing to take. I mean, if I want to be able to stop people in the middle of something they saying and ask them questions about it, then I had better be willing to let them stop me in the middle of what I'm saying. I know that. And I do that. You notice, the minute I heard somebody say something, even though it was a fool, I wouldn't have known she was a fool if I hadn't stopped to hear her. Do you make judgments before you have knowledge? Most people in this world do. Don't know nothing about you and done sized you up from looking at you. So now I want you to hear, I'm so happy. I knew that eventually many of those who love their country, I'm not under no illusions. I know whose country this is. This is white people's country. They established the Constitution. They established this form of government. I mean, so, this woman, that white lady that was just in here, she disgraced her own self and misrepresent her own self. You know what the messenger said? He said, you don't disrespect people who are trying to respect you. That's what he told me. Now I see why. I hadn't said nothing that disrespectful to her or her people. And she's a member of those who owns this country. And all she did was showed why it seems to be, they seem to be losing it. The kingdom is being taken from them. And that was why. A ruler that goes around disrespecting and dishonoring people is bringing dishonor upon themselves. They went to war against a king who acted like that. They did. And they won. But you know what happens when you forget where you came from and forget how you got there? You become lost. If you don't have anything in your heart but hatred for me, well, if I was you, and couldn't stand to see me standing here speaking what I'm speaking, I'd take as much as I could and then I'd leave. Because if you can't condemn anything that I'm saying, you best shut your mouth. You can hate me all you want. That's not going to change the truth. Just because you don't like the vessel, the looks of the vessel that it's coming from. I and my Father are one. Running around here, call yourself hating black people and looking at the universe that you in. The universe that you in is all black. That tell you where I came from. You don't get black out of white. You get white out of black. Let there be light. Well, if you got to say, let there be light, what was there first? Darkness was up on the face of the deep. And God said, let there be light. So I didn't know I was God, but I do now. Thanks to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said that Master Farad Muhammad brought the truth over here to teach the black man the knowledge of himself. So now I have the knowledge of myself. And I'm happy and I'm at peace in my skin. Now.
Yes, sir, you have a question.
Yes.
From a black man, he says, what did Jesus mean when he said, I am in the Father?
Well, he didn't just say that. He said, I am in the Father and the Father is in me. And he said that for me. That's my words. The Father is the truth. And when you search the word of God, which the scripture says, sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. The Holy Scriptures is all truth. And when you search the scriptures, it tells you that I would say this to you. Search your scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. And they are they which testify of me. I am in the Father, I am in the truth. And Allah said, now, Son of Man, take the truth and eat it up. And the truth is in me. I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. You see. And so now, the Father have become the Son, and the Son have become the Father. Yes. When I ate it, then just like any son, once he matures and have the ability to reproduce, once he has the life germs in his testicles or in his scrotum, you notice in your scrotum there's two spheres. In your head there's two spheres. You see? So I have the natural knowledge in my head and I have the spiritual knowledge in my head. And I'm omnipotent. The Lord omnipotent reigneth. You see? So that was a good question, black man. I want all of you to know that, the more you hear me, the less you care to hear anybody else. That is because there's nothing else. That's like the sun. Once you've seen the sun, the stars just don't cut it no more. Do you understand? Yeah. So I want to show you some other things. I was so pleased that many of the patriotic white people in this country are now speaking out. And they did the wise thing. I guess I have to acknowledge it. It is wisdom to say, okay, we elected him president. Let's give him a chance to go on and be presidential. Let's, that office has changed many men. I mean, they act one way and say a lot of things, and they might not have, there ain't no man been president that was perfect. No, not one. But because of I don't know if this is a word, the augustness of that office, it demanded that he reach down in himself and man up. You understand? That's what they were hoping for in him. And but you cannot dig out what's not there. If you go to a copper mine and it has been established that it's a vein of copper, ain't no sense in you expecting to sooner or later hit gold. Now, that's not to say that Mr. Trump is not an astute businessman on the level that he knows how to do business. But it has become clear that diplomacy and all of the qualities that are necessary in order to conduct the office of president, he lacks those qualities. And if you asked him what is the purpose of a cabinet, he thinks that the purpose of a cabinet is to do whatever he wants done. And that's not the purpose of a cabinet. The purpose of a cabinet is to help you govern in a just and lawful way. That's why you are given the privilege to select people that you respect their opinion. That way, where you are lacking, they can tell you and say, no, Mr. President, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. But he's not used to that. He's used to being a CEO. You don't tell the CEO what to do in a business. He tells you what to do. And that's the way he's been conducting his business. Even though in a real corporation, you would think that the CEO would surround himself with advisors whose words that he respects, whose thoughts he respects. As Solomon, he was, that's one of the reasons why I'm not a Mason, but I've talked to people who were Masons, and you pick up little tidbits from here and there, and they respect Solomon. They refer to Solomon as the wisest of them all. And Solomon's words were, "In the multitude of counselors, there is safety." You see? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what augustness means.
When you say, the term august means a high office, a high presence. When you are in the presence of a king or whatnot, then you are in his august presence. It has a connotation of being lofty, a lofty position, and so when you, when it has generally, as I said, it was generally assumed that if a man was smart enough to get to the Oval Office, he certainly was smart enough to be president. But since everything has changed, people have bought out the media, and people have bought elections now. They buy elections. There never been no elections where $1 billion was spent on an election. They didn't allow that. No, you're not going to cheapen our. No, this was designed this way for a specific reason. A man should have to think his way to the White House, to the Oval Office, not buy his way there. Do you understand? But anyway, there are, the messenger said this, which tells me that, there is hope for America's future, just not the America that you know right now. As he said, there are white Muslims in America, and lots of them. They are called Christians. The Holy Quran says it. Those nearest to the prophets in faith are those who say we are Christians. You see? So there's much that I could share with you. But I'm not talking about the hypocrites. I'm talking about those who truly believe that the Bible is the Word of God. And there's lots of them that feel that way. Many of you have met some of them. And that's the truth. All right. So we want to say that we are happy that the Patriots are waking up and they're dealing with it. I want to let you see something here. Just give me a minute.
Well, the President of the United States today promised to attack the United States Senator, a member of his own party. And the President warned us about it, told us something about it, about the attack that he hasn't yet launched, that we already know.
It won't be pretty. He's the elected president of the United States. We're past the hour where you would hope that someone in this country of stature would say, sir, at long last, have you no sense of decency? I'm being very nice. I'm being very, very nice. But at some point I fight back and it won't be pretty.
Does he have any idea how idiotic he sounds?
He creates his own diversions. He freelances constantly. He picks fights he doesn't need to fight. He loses fights that he has to win. What's he going to do to John McCain? He's going to send a mean tweet to John McCain. I have faced some pretty tough adversaries in the past. This is a fight that I think McCain is prepared to take to the president. I don't think the president knows that this is one he doesn't want to take. Last night at this hour, we brought you the first report of John McCain's speech in Philadelphia, in which he attacked Trumpism last night without ever mentioning President Trump's name. And of course, Donald Trump reacted to that today in his small-minded.
I think it's very important that you understand that there's an old saying, friendship is friendship, but business is business. How many of y'all done heard that before? I mean, I can love you as a friend. That don't mean I got to go along with you something that's foolish that you're doing. I mean, as a friend, I should correct you. And you know, there's an old saying, a hint to the wise is sufficient to correct him. Correct a wise man, instruct a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Correct a fool and receive a blow. Now, I mean, I ain't no great admirer of John McCain, because I think that in some cases he let the people down too. He put his patriotism aside, and I would never call him unpatriotic, but I say he forgot his patriotism and went along with just to get along. And now he's repented of that error. Because of his love for his country. Better late than never. And so, and even in his speaking, the only ones that could get angry with him was the ones that are guilty of what he was talking about. You want to hide your bigotry and racism under the disguise of nationalism? That you care about your country and all of that? You lying. If you cared about your country, you would care how your country looks in the eyes of the civilized world. You would care about the people of your country. All of them. That's what some Negroes was mad with President Obama about. They wanted him to be an activist. The president's job is not to be an activist. If you become president of the United States and decide you need to get in there and champion a particular people's cause instead of what's best for the country, It's one thing to say something about, some injustices that's being done to this particular group or that particular group, but you ain't got no business leading the charge. You acknowledge it, and then you make sure you remember that you're not just their president, but you the president of them people that they mad at too. Do you understand? And so that is what that's why it's certain things. Like I said, Muhammad Ali could get anybody that had that was what you call athletically inclined, that could and teach you how to do the shuffle. He could teach you how to jab. He could teach you how to throw uppercuts and jabs and hooks and all of that. And can teach you how to hit that bag. But after he teach you all of those things that made him so successful, the one thing he can't teach you is when to use it. And if you don't use it at the proper time, you're going to get knocked out. You see? That's why when you're dealing with fallible human beings, that means people who are capable of making mistakes. And I remember when I was growing up, this old brother told me, he said, look, you show me a man that ain't never made a mistake, I'll show you a man that ain't never did nothing. So, to keep the most infallible people, I should say, to keep the people that are fallible from putting someone who is too faulty in the position of president, he must understand that once you ask the public to trust you as the president of the United States, the public have a right to dig into your character, have a right to dig into anything they want to know about you to see what kind of man they getting ready to put over their country. That's where that income tax thing came in at. He didn't show his income tax return, which would have told the people that he believes in this government as much as they do. Do you understand? I'm surprised that no one has asked. I mean, during the election he was running, then people should have wanted to know, you leaving the private sector when you go into government. You are becoming the servant of the American people. And you have to remember, you answer to the American people because it's their vote that's going to put you there, at least theoretically. Now, if that's the case, then even you remember Mr. Anthony Weiner? They went into that man's computers and everything because he's a public figure. As much as this man loves to tweet, I'm surprised they haven't got Facebook and found out what kind of tweets he was doing with who and where and what he was talking about with people. If you want your business to stay private, stay in the private sector. But if you want to be president of the United States, then be ready to open your life's book and let the people see exactly who they are getting. Now, any of you that disagree with that, I thought that that's how it worked. I see it don't work like that. You know, they had an old trick. You know what the term beware of Greeks bearing gifts? You know where they came from? The Trojan horse. Slipped them their knight. You know, that's the horse. The horse head is the knight on the chessboard. Remember, they said they was playing chess. Is that right? Grover Norquist said, we don't need no fearless leader. We just need someone with good dexterity that will sign what we put in front of it. The leadership is going to come out of the House and the Senate. Remember he said that? I guess some of the patriotic people are now waking up and then got sick of it. I just hope it's not too late for you. I do. I hope it's not too late. But anyway, let's see what John McCain had to say, because he didn't bash President Trump. He simply spoke of what he had observed with this false patriotism, this false nationalism. And he spoke about it, letting them know, I see through that. Just listen to him.
An always ugly way. And Trump himself described his reaction as ugly. Before we show you the Trump reaction, let's take another look at the portion of Senator McCain's speech in which he defined the essence of Trumpism while railing against it.
To abandon the ideals we have advanced around the globe, to refuse the obligations of international leadership and our duty to remain the last best hope of Earth for the sake of some half-baked, spurious nationalism cooked up by people who would rather find scapegoats than solve problems.
And here's how the President of the United States responded to that today in a radio interview.
Here's what he said yesterday, Senator McCain.
Yeah, well, I hear it, and people have to be careful because at some point I fight back.
Yeah.
You know, being very nice. I'm being very, very nice. But at some point I fight back, and it won't be pretty.
Now, it's important that you understand that he felt that that was an accusation at him, which is in almost an admission that it's true. Otherwise, what he upset about? If that don't apply to him, that's just like when somebody say hypocrites is so everywhere. They in the closet. They in the They in here and in there. That don't faze me, because I ain't no hypocrite. Now, if they mention my name, now we got a problem. If that didn't apply to him when that man asked him that question, you know what he would have said? Well, Senator McCain is right. Some of these people is just tripping. Some of these people is out of order. But he said they better be careful because sooner or later I fight back. There's something to that effect. You know, I ain't good at remembering a lot of what some people say. Don't, you know, because I don't carry stuff that I don't, you know, I got to get something positive out of it. Otherwise, that's why I keep the tape so that I can play it back and don't misquote people when they say foolish things. But let's hear that little part again.
People who would rather find scapegoats than solve problems.
And here's how the President of the United States responded to that today in a radio interview.
Everybody said yesterday, Senator McCain.
Yeah, well, I hear it, and people have to be careful because at some point I fight back.
Yeah.
You know, I'm being very nice. I'm being very, very nice. But at some point I fight back, and it won't be pretty.
It won't be pretty. It is a comment like that that will always bring to mind the Trump cabinet member, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, who has been quoted as calling the president a moron. And the wonder of the moron story, the most amazing thing about the moron story, is that at 270 days into the Trump presidency, only one cabinet member has been quoted as calling the president a moron. Only one. The president, who says when he fights back against John McCain, it won't be pretty. Only one. The 5.5 years John McCain spent as a prisoner of war in North Vietnam were not pretty. And every day that John McCain was in that prison in North Vietnam, Donald Trump was evading service in the military and possible assignment to Vietnam with the kind of note from a doctor that rich kids in those days were obtaining to claim physical disabilities that made them unfit for service. And now we have a president of the United States, a commander-in-chief, who psychiatrists are saying is unfit for service. They have a note about this president now. And Donald Trump's case, his doctor's note to keep him out of Vietnam was about a sore foot. He doesn't have to tell us that it won't be pretty. He never has to tell us that it won't be pretty when he next attacks John McCain, because nothing Donald Trump ever does is pretty. And we've seen him attack John McCain before.
He's not the war hero. He's the war hero. He's the war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
It won't be pretty. Casey Hunt caught up with John McCain today and got his reaction to the president's threat.
Mr. Trump said on the radio, I heard, and people have to be careful because at some point I fight back, at some point I will fight back, and it won't be pretty, talking about you.
I don't comment on what the president says. I comment on what he does. And I will say that I have faced some pretty tough adversaries in the past. I'm not interested in confronting the president. I'm interested in working with the president.
That is what dignity sounds like. That is what professionalism sounds like in someone.
I want to go even deeper into that, because what he was saying was he want to do the job that the people, that the Senate, that a senator is supposed to be doing. And he wants the president to do the job that the president is supposed to be doing. And they work together for the best interest of the United States. That's what he was saying, in my understanding of what he was saying, that he wants to work with the president for the best interest of the United States. But, you know, this is not about, you know, I mean, the president wants a bunch of yes men and he wants to turn America into a dictatorship. And it just don't work like that. So, you know,
serving in government. Those are alien concepts to Donald Trump, dignity and professionalism. And so Donald Trump continues to damage his White House, damage his presidency, damage his legislative agenda by attacking and threatening senators like John McCain, whose votes he will need in order to achieve anything in Congress. John McCain just won re-election to a 6-year term. He is 81 years old. He will not be running for another term at 87 years old. And now that John McCain has been diagnosed with brain cancer, he may not complete his term. And so John McCain is not playing the kind of games that Republican senators usually have to play with Fox News. Watch what happened today after Casey Hunt asked her question that you just saw and got the answer that you just saw. And then a Fox News correspondent asked a question that completely ignored what Senator McCain had just said. We're going to back up this video a little bit so that you can hear Senator McCain say once again in a calm and sane professional tone, I am interested in working with the president. Those are the last words Senator McCain says before the Fox News question, and you really, really have to watch this answer.
I'm not interested in confronting the president. I'm interested in working with the president.
Thanks very much for your time, sir. I really appreciate it.
The question, if your relationship with the president brings to the point that you are not going to support anything that he comes to you, and
Why would you say something that stupid? Why would you ask something that dumb? Huh? My job as a United States Senator is a senator from Arizona, which I was just reelected to. You mean that I'm somehow going to behave in a way that I'm going to block everything because of some personal disagreement? That's a dumb question.
Guys, thank you.
that's a dumb question. I could just watch John McCain walk away after saying that's a dumb question all night. I could just watch that video all night, because what you see there is a senator who is not playing Fox News's game anymore, not playing the Trump News Network's game anymore. That's a dumb question. If you're a student of the Senate, there are few things more exquisite to watch than the senator who knows he has nothing to lose. John McCain is not the only one. The Republican chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, Buck Corker, is not running for re-election, and he said today that he stands by every negative word that he has said about the president in the last couple of weeks, including the line about the White House being an adult daycare center, and that the president has us, quote, on the path toward World War III. Senator Corker says, my thoughts were well thought out. Look, I didn't just blurt them out. And that includes Senator Corker's comment about the castration of the Secretary of State. Last week, Senator Corker told the Washington Post, you cannot publicly castrate your own Secretary of State. And that provoked this exchange with the Secretary of State on Sunday.
Do you want to say anything about the senator calling to the suggestion he's been gelded before the world, and that it's not anything that bothers you? I checked, don't believe attack.
The Secretary of State is prepared to answer that question, to say that he has checked about his castration. But in that very same interview, as we showed you last night, despite Jake Tapper's repeated attempts, Rex Tillerson refused to deny that he called the president a moron. And Rex Tillerson knows that every time he refuses to deny calling the president a moron, he is once again, in effect, calling the president a moron, as he did repeatedly in that interview yesterday, on Sunday. This castration thing, this is Republican talk. Republican men are now on record in the last year or so talking about male genitalia more than is normal in American politics, because normal in American politics is exactly zero references to male genitalia. That is what is normal. But the age of Trump has changed everything in Republican politics. And like Donald Trump says, it's not pretty.
He referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee
The one thing that Donald Trump never has to tell us is that the next thing he's going to do won't be pretty.
At some point I fight back and it won't be pretty.
Joining us now, Norm Ornstein. He is with the American Enterprise Institute. He's a leading congressional scholar. He is also the co-author of the new book, One Nation After Trump. Also with us, Max Booth, Senior Fellow at Council on Foreign Relations and the former Foreign Policy Advisor for the McCain, Romney, and Rubio campaigns. And Ron Klain is joining us, a former Chief of Staff to Vice Presidents Joe Biden and Al Gore, former senior aide to President Obama. And Ron, you worked many years in the Senate, as I did. And I have to ask you, I think you and I, between us, have seen hundreds of interviews of senators in the hallways of the Senate office buildings. Have you ever heard a senator say to a question, why did you ask me such a stupid question? That's a dumb question. Because I've heard a lot of those interviews out there. I've never heard that.
Yeah, could you just play it again 4 or 5 more times?
I've said, Fox News viewers are probably missing this clip. I haven't watched Fox News all day, but I doubt they've been showing their hero correspondent being called a dumb questioner by John McCain.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it just illustrates kind of where we are right now and the craziness that President Trump is causing and the reaction to that. And the spectacle of one of the senior-most members of his party, John McCain, a respected senator, a respected war hero, won the Liberty Medal last night, having to basically shout down his House organ at Fox News for suggesting he won't do his job as a senator, the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, saying the president has us on the brink of chaos and that he's in adult daycare. And so he's at a war with the other senator from Arizona, Senator Jeff Flake. He said that he's a bad senator and he's almost endorsed his opponent. So, I mean, this is just Trumpism gone amok. We're seeing this in unprecedented ways. And that's why, bottom line, Lawrence, this is a big reason why this week we'll celebrate the 9-month mark of Trump's presidency. And he's the first president ever to go 9 months without a single major bill passing the Congress. 9 months, over 9 months. That's because of how Donald Trump was handling all this relations with Congress.
Let's listen to Bob Corker today, in his way, trying to explain to the president that these senators are all elected. They're elected in their own right, and Bob Corker didn't get there with any help from Donald Trump. And Donald Trump can expect Bob Corker to continue to speak his mind. Let's listen to this.
Last week was obviously provided a lot of entertainment for all of you, but I'm back up here this week. I've got issues to deal with Ron and issues to deal with the budget issue here with us and tax reform. So I'm up here on a policy basis. I'm not here leading some rump group to do certain things. I'm one senator. Each of us has an election certificate, and I speak my mind, and I'll continue to. So,
Norm, I've never heard an answer like that because it's kind of like explaining a senator explaining how I got here to an elementary school student.
When it comes to understanding anything about government, I would say that even elementary school students do better than Donald Trump does. But it's just bizarre, Lawrence, to be talking the way we're talking instead of discussing what we would normally do on a show like this. And the level of sociopathy that we see from
that's an understatement. California is a disaster area. Texas is a disaster area. Houston. Florida is a disaster area. Puerto Rico is a disaster area. And who's monopolizing the news with political junk? The man who's supposed to be dealing and, comforting the people in these disaster areas, he having feuds with Congress. It's as though the rest of the country don't exist. And you notice he haven't said not once, I don't have time to be on here talking to you. I gotta be, do you not see all these disasters around here? Look, we would talk about this stuff after we deal with this others. Right? But he done delegated that, obviously. Rome burning and Nero fiddling. Huh? What can you say? I'm gonna let you see just a little bit more of this, and then we're gonna move on.
From a president that's going to go beyond fighting with John McCain and Bob Corker, but we'll get to, despite the sort of makeup appearance yesterday with Mitch McConnell, to the Senate Republican leader, to the Speaker of the House, and to others. And remember that yesterday at his press conference, Trump said, I don't blame myself for any of the things that have gone wrong. The narcissism there and the willingness to turn on his own partisans, not to mention Democrats, immigrants, and a whole host of others, makes this a unique presidency as it is in so many other ways.
Let's listen to what Joe Biden said about President Trump.
We have a president who does not understand governance. Forget his policies for a minute. He doesn't understand how the government functions. There's certain basic norms. And he doesn't understand them, and the ones he understands, he tries to break down. And secondly, this penchant for self-aggrandizement and this penchant for tweeting, this penchant to focus so specifically and internally on what he does or doesn't do.
And Max Boone, it's not as if this is working for the president.
Something I want to say that I don't know how you could miss it, but I've heard him and many others of his supporters, the president's supporters, they say he wants to drain the swamp. Are you aware that Washington, D.C. is built on a swamp? Well, if he said he wants to drain the swamp, that means he wants to destroy your government. If something is over a drain and you drain it, everything that's in there goes down, right? I think I understand what drain means. Is government even being done? Is governing being done? They just said ain't no bills passed yet. You better wake up before you sleep forever.
Has record high disapproval numbers.
It's Lawrence, I would say it's a psychological compulsion for him. I mean, just think of what else has happened in the last couple of days. You highlighted his sniping at Senator McCain, but of course he's also spent the last couple of days in a war of words with members of the Obama administration, because when he was criticized for not having called the families of the 4 Green Berets who were killed in Niger after 12 days, his instinct was not to apologize or to say that he was busy or offer some excuse. His instinct was to falsely attack President Obama by claiming that President Obama never called and never spoke to the families of fallen warriors, which is just flat out untrue. And of course, the more pushback he gets, the harder he pushes. It's hard to avoid the conclusion at the end of the day that he thrives on this kind of reality TV show atmosphere of constant conflict. And his supporters like to say, that he fights. And that is certainly true. I mean, he fights each and every single day. But the question is, what does he fight for? He's not fighting for a policy agenda because he doesn't have a policy agenda. He doesn't have any ideas. He is fighting basically for his wounded ego, for his pride, and maybe just for the fun of it, because he enjoys the combat and is bored by actual policy details. That's the reality of the Trump presidency.
And Ron, you have a legislative agenda that has gotten nowhere. It has a big mountain to climb with a tax bill, and this president is the worst legislative leader any party has ever had in the White House. No question. I mean, look at what's gone on in our country the past couple of weeks. Puerto Rico is drowning. California is burning. North Korea is menacing. Jobs are hemorrhaging for the first time in 7 years. Las Vegas is still grieving. And the president has done none of those, focused on none of those things. As Max says, he's been obsessed with these fights. He spent this period of time in an obsessive Twitter battle with professional athletes who are protesting police practices in America. And instead of tackling all these big challenges, he just seems to tweet every day about this protest issue. And it's kind of a maniacal managerial malfeasance on his part. He's like Captain Queeg looking for the strawberries. I mean, he is obsessed with these petty battles and is not really solving the huge crises and challenges our country faces right now. And Max, we have seen presidents alienate members of their own party before, but it tended to be one or two here and there. It wasn't a kind of widespread phenomenon, the likes of which we're seeing now.
Well, Lawrence, I wish it were more widespread, because I think you're certainly hearing from a few Republicans like Senator McCain, Senator Jeff Flake, Senator Bob Corker. But, what they say, the statements, I think, are ones that pretty much every Republican member of Congress would agree with. In fact, Senator Corker himself said that when he said that, that Trump was out of control, possibly leading us to World War III and need of adult daycare. He said all of his colleagues would agree with that. But notice how few of his colleagues actually have the courage to say in public what they believe in private. And beyond that, they don't have the courage to act upon their convictions, because clearly what we are seeing is that this is a guy who is not fit for office. As Senator Corker mentioned, we are running the danger of a war because we have a guy who is not qualified to be in command of our nuclear arsenal. And yet, what you're seeing is the leadership of both houses trying to paper that over, like the way that Senator McConnell was when he was at the White House yesterday, trying to pretend that everything is normal, that we have to ignore these daily outbursts of craziness from Trump because we need to get tax reform through, we need to get some policy item through. This is not realistic. This is not responsible. And at the end of the day, these lawmakers on the Republican side are violating their oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution. They are not doing that because of the danger that we face to the Constitution and to the entire world from the president of their own party in the White House.
Max Boot and Ron Klain, thank you both for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Welcome to The Last Word, and your essay about our 71-year-old Fox News viewing president is one of those essays where you're saying things that are in our heads, we know, but we haven't laid them out there. Joining us now, Andrew Sullivan, writer at large for New York Magazine. Andrew, welcome to The Last Word, and your essay about our 71-year-old Fox News viewing president is one of those essays where you're saying things that are in our heads, we know, but we haven't laid them out that way, in that kind of flawless logic that you present about this. And we're living in this chaotic environment that the president seems to be the only one oblivious to the chaos.
Yes, I mean, I think if you've ever lived in a family with mental illness, you'll understand what's going on. This man is not really in control of himself. I think if you try and think there's a strategy to this, or that he's lying, or that he's behaving in some sort of strategic or intelligent way, you're missing the fact that he can't help any of this. That he's living in a fantasy world, and that fantasy world is one of profound reactionaryism. And reactionarism is really a wish that we were living 50 years ago. It's not actually a program that you could implement. So if you were running on a program to deport 11 million people, to throw up to 20 million people off their health insurance, to erect a giant wall across the entire southern border, to withdraw from a trade agreement, NAFTA, which would destroy the economies of Mexico and Canada and create huge disruption across the world, or to leave the Iran deal, which is endorsed by every other major power, and that would violate the United States' credibility in any international relationship. You can't actually do it. And if you want to do it, you're going to risk such damage that you're always going to pull back at the very end. It's partly his platform that has rendered him so impotent, and it's also, of course, his psychological illness.
And presidents over-promising during campaigns is a phenomenon that we're used to, and it's a phenomenon that politicians are used to. And once in office, when they realize, if they didn't already, the limitations, the kind of reality zone that's left to them in the shape of whatever's left of their promise, that's what they need.
It's something that I need to share with you. I said I wasn't going to get into these politics no more, but I have to say, when it comes to a great nation like the United States has become, part of what makes America a great nation is the continuity of America's word. Every time leadership changes, that does not mean that agreements that America made have changed. Because if that, if nothing else, would show a decline in a decline in the ability to rule in America. You know, I mean, it goes without saying, you know, America's reputation is the most important thing she has. That if America says this, that's what it is. Not this is good as long as this president is in office, and when he not there no more, then all bets are off. Can't nobody deal with you like that. You are that's called unstable. That's an unstable government. Every time, so what if the Constitution changed every time a new president got in office? You headed off the scene, and he doesn't understand that. You may not like deals that predecessors of yours made, but you have to be very careful about going back on deals that were sealed on both sides, because your reputation is at stake. And if people don't feel that America can be trusted to live up to agreements that America makes, you through leading. And if his idea of making America great again is to go back on agreements that, small, petty-minded people don't see what I'm saying. I mean, it's just like even in your contracts that your father and mother makes. If you want to inherit property that your father left, when he dies, unless he had death insurance that paid it off, If you inherit the property, you inherit the bills with it. Do you understand? They don't let you cut it off. No, you're going to have to, if you want to keep that property, you had better live up and to that agreement that your dad made. You are bound by it. Do you understand? Well, that's just common sense. I mean, I shouldn't have to stand here and say that to people who have been independent and free for at least 200 years. How did you not learn that? How this man, he's draining the swamp. How do you turn America into a has-been overnight? Just go back on America's word. Just cut off America's word that she gave to anybody. Now, we ain't gonna do that no more. What? Then the credibility of the American government is shot. They playing chess. What they said, they done put all their men in position. And so now they ready to spring it and jump the government. They've been already talking about turning American citizens on their own government. The NRA, haven't they been telling you to take up arms, buy arms so that you can fight the federal government when they come to take your weapons? What you mean come to take their weapons? Are you that stupid? Yeah, you that stupid. So, I mean, like I told you, can't nobody from the outside attack America and win. So they had to do the Trojan horse thing. Change laws to allow as much money to be put in the election. When Grover Norquist was asked where he get his money from, he didn't tell. He don't have to now because the appointments to the Supreme Court changed the laws. At least they upheld it. You know, the Supreme Court justices, when they contested people putting more money into the elections, you know, Congress loosened up the restrictions. And then when it was challenged, the Supreme Court upheld the new rule that people can put as much as they want into the election. It's their money. They can do what they want with it. And you can do what you want with it to a point, but you can, what do you know what governing means? They have governors on most of your trucking companies. On their diesel trucks, they put governors on their motors to only let them rev up to 18 or 2,000 RPMs, so that if they get a fool for a driver, no matter how he put his pedal to the metal, that he ain't gonna blow up their motor in their vehicle, go out there and tap their vehicle. And likewise, governing is just that. It is a restricting to preserve. That's what the government is supposed to do. How in the world are you going to preserve your union if you don't safeguard the union by saying, look, it's only so much money we're going to allow anybody to put in our elections, and we are also going to require that you disclose where your money coming from. Why? Otherwise, you're talking about Russia, or you talking about any outside country that may want to influence America's elections can do so if you can hide whoever your supporters are. But you got people in all through your government. I told you I seen this rodeo before with the Nation of Islam. You had people coming into the nation, you don't know nothing. These people just came in a couple of weeks ago, and now he's a lieutenant. What is that? Tell you what it was. Chess. Put people in positions, and then at a certain time, make it all fall down. So I'm telling you, you better wake up. Now, you know, people talking about, well, he just trying to what? There's an old saying, when you sleeping on the floor, you can't fall out the bed. I mean, you know, I know this ain't my country. I just live here. Anytime a law officer get out of his in uniform in front of a camera and say we only kill black people, I mean, if I thought it was mine, I know better now. I'm not saying this for his sake. I'm saying it for the sake of those white Muslims that the messenger was talking about. You better get up. Your house is on fire. The House of Representatives and the Senate is on fire. And they trying their best to tear up your country from the inside. And they're using your racism and bigotry against you to misdirect you. Like so many people was using our dislike of white people to misdirect our attention while they was tearing up the nation from the inside. And we didn't have sense enough to realize there ain't no white folks in the temple here. There's nothing in here but black people. Them's the one we should have been watching. Okay. Now I done told you. All right, now listen at this man here. He telling them too.
And they practice rephrasing success as the achievement of that lesser goal. This is something that this president, that no one seems to be able to drill into this presidency, that victory has to be defined in terms differently than you described it during the campaign.
It would require his walking back some things. It would require, for example, saying, I'm not going to build this wall, but let's try E-Verify. Let's get a deal with the Democrats where we can exchange, say, DACA for E-Verify. Actually being in charge of the minutiae of policy, understanding where the country is. You can't start from 1960 if you are president in 2017. And that fantasy of his impedes his ability to do and get anything done. And the trouble is that his response to that is rage. It's not an attempt to wind it down or to come up with something actually systematic that you can actually achieve legislatively. It is simply to lash out wildly at anybody that dares point out to him that this is the world we actually live in. You can't actually do these things without massive disruption. And I think you see that elsewhere in the world. I mean, you see it in Britain, where the idea of actually getting out of the European Union sounds fantastic until you're actually trying to do it. And we're a year on from the vote on Brexit, and the Prime Minister has no idea how she's going to pull this off. And the cabinet is tearing itself apart. This is a function of not conservatism properly understood. And it's not done with the logic and rationale and political sense of a Thatcher or Reagan. This is a kind of thrashing around wildly in response to a world you simply don't understand and also can't live in. And that's why we're in this incredibly weird period where this incredibly dangerous man is also incapable of doing anything. And that's a very strange position for us to be in, but that's what happens when you have someone this unfit for office actually attempting to do it.
Do you see a transatlantic contagion of fantasy that has given us Brexit and Trump?
Yes. And I think it's in part, deep down, a panic at the modern world. It's a panic that we live in a multiracial, multicultural society, and they just don't want to live in that world. But there's no alternative.
The problem is, you told your children, you nurtured them all up on lies of superiority and all of that, instead of telling them the truth that the black man is your father. And, now, trying to talk about getting rid of the black man, you're not going to get rid of us. You're going to get rid of yourself trying to get rid of us. You're not the first time. This ain't the first time somebody thought they was going to get rid of the black man. We had black people think they was going to do that. And we still here. I know you got plans, but your plans are known. As the Holy Quran warned you. If there's 3 of you planning, Allah is the 4th. Wherever you are, however many of you there, you add 1, because Allah is right there listening to you. You can't keep no secret. If air is in there with you, then what's in your brain is connected to Allah's brain through the air. And when you get tired of your planning, all you have to do is give the order. And your own body will self-destruct. Because it ain't yours either. That book told you the earth belonged to Allah. The earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. Just like you heard the little silly woman, she came in here twice. Wasn't satisfied. Got to keep on coming in here. Now she got to sit up in hell. Whosoever shall follow you, I will certainly fill hell with them all. So, I want you to know that's not a joke. When somebody ain't bothering you, you best leave them alone. If someone's showing you respect, respect don't mean having to agree with everything you have to say. Respect don't mean going along with you regardless to whatever you do. Respect means if I say something about you, you have a right and I have a duty to, you have the right to confront me and I have a duty to listen to what you have to say in defense of yourself. That's respect. But I don't have no duty to listen to you cursing and swearing at me. No, I don't. And you don't have no right to do that to me.
That's the world we live in. You're not going to turn this country into 80% white again. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to undo 40 years of integration in Europe overnight. And so you elect these fantasy figures who tell you somehow we're going to make Austria white again, for example. Or these things are profound in emotions. But the job of real politicians is to, sure, acknowledge those emotions, understand the problems, but then to come up with actual policies from where we now are to mitigate, not to abolish, but to mitigate and make things a little better. That is the art of politics.
And so,
yeah.
Sorry, we're out of time for the block. Andrew, thank you very, very.
And I'm going to tell you something flat out. You can put all of these crooked people in Congress and make all the crooked laws that you want. But whenever you make any crooked law that's going to undermine the well-being of my people, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to obey your law. You ain't going to make no law that's going to destroy my people. You're out of your damn mind. And you go on, do what you want to. But I have authority too. I have laws too. And whosoever do any work in the Sabbath day shall surely be put to death. And I don't need your guns. I don't need your bombs and your bullets. The forces of nature belong to me. Yeah. You keep on acting a fool. Anybody got something they want to say to what I just said? I want you to hear and see some things here. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he spoke some things that have been misrepresented and misinterpreted. So I want you to hear the messenger speak on Minister Farrakhan. Okay. Give me a minute. Because, you know, it's time that you hear the whole truth and not just somebody trying to spin it to make it look like something that it wasn't. Because if you had really paid attention to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you would know that what they have been saying and about some of the things he said, you would know that it was a lie, the way they tried to interpret it or reinterpret it. But because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said so many things that would make clear what he meant by what he said. For instance, when he told everybody, he said that this teaching will rise a powerful son of truth.
I want you to remember the day I have under my greatest teacher. You know, going along with everybody. I find it really despicable people, brother. Don't up here what they can think.
Now, I'm going to let you hear the messenger tell you that Minister Farrakhan's preaching is a bearing of witness to what Allah had given to him, the messenger. I remember you so forgetful that you forgot that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Allah was preparing another little book. He said, well, he's already got it prepared, but he's waiting on a certain time to give it to me. And so, you know, you're going to hear Minister Farrakhan bear witness to what the messenger said. But first, I want you to hear the messenger tell you that Minister Farrakhan's preaching is a bearing of witness to what Allah gave to the messenger. Do you understand? Okay. That's why he told you to listen to him. Everywhere you see him, listen to him. Look at him. And everywhere you hear him, listen to him. Well, now, he also told you that the Son of Man, he said he's so wise, he makes everything of the creation to bear him witness. Is that right? Okay. Now, just listen.
Today, our great national preacher, the preacher who don't mind going into New York, one of the most great towns in our nation. It is our brother, and Detroit is Chicago, New York. But I want you to remember, every week he's on the air, help me to reach those people that I can't get out of my house and go reach like you. I want you to pay good attention to his preaching. His preaching is a very uplifting to read in what God has wanted to do. I want you to pay good attention to his preaching. His preaching is a very uplifting to read in what God has wanted to do.
Now you heard that. Now you heard the messenger say that his preaching is a bearing of witness to me and what Allah have given to me. Right? Okay. Now, so I want you to hear Minister Farrakhan bear witness. Now, but then he tries to interpret what the messenger said, and he messes it up. But he bore witness that the messenger did say something that now I'm going to let you hear. Just a moment.
I defended him. I will not be unfaithful to the only man that I ever knew that was worthy of being faithful to. He told me about his son, and I rely on his word to. He told me about his son. And I rely on his word. He said his son would help him. He told me that Allah promised him a son. And he told me and all of you that know the messenger, know that he said that Wallace would one day help him. That day has arrived. And I, like all the rest of Messenger Muhammad's followers, submit to Muhammad's followers. Submit. He told me that Allah promised him a son. And he told me and all of you that know the messenger, know that he said that Wallace would one day help him.
See, now he was lying. He told the truth and then he started lying. The messenger wasn't talking about Wallace. I could understand you thinking that if Wallace was the messenger's oldest son. The messenger didn't tell him that Allah promised me another son. The messenger said what all of the prophets were promised. In the 9th chapter of Isaiah, and the 6th verse, here's the promise of the son. It says, "For unto us a child is born." And it says, "Unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end. Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice, from henceforth even forever. The zeal or Spirit of the Lord of hosts will perform this. The Spirit of truth will perform this." Now, in the Holy Quran, in the 6th chapter and the 20th verse, it says, see, when Allah was giving them the measure, the portions of the book, he was giving them a son. As the messenger said that Allah had promised him a son. Allah promised all of his prophets a son. And that's what they were all prophesying of. That's why in the volume of the book, I come. The mind that's speaking to you came in the volume of their teachings. Do you understand? And so that's why, yeah, and you know, genetically, you listen to what's coming out of my mouth, and then look in their teachings, and you find that their blood matches mine, and my words match theirs. Do you understand? And so it says, those whom we have given the book recognize him. Notice it calls the book a him. The messenger said, well, he got another little book. He's preparing another little book. He said, Well, he already got it prepared, but he waiting on a certain time to give it to me. That's why he said that I expect him here pretty soon. Do you understand? And so, as it was in the 23rd year of my birth that I was revealed to the messenger, just like the Holy Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad over a period of 23 years. Do you understand? And so I was 22 going on 23 when the messenger, actually, if you count the 9 months of my gestation, then I was actually 23 years old on the 26th of February. From November the 26th of my physical birth, then you count 3 months after that, December 26th, January 26th, and February 26th. Then I was actually 23 years old, literally, if you start counting from the time that my mother got pregnant and gave birth to me. You see? Do you understand? So I was revealed to him over a period of 23 years. And then he told everybody that I had arrived. He said, the Savior has arrived. Just like when a newborn baby comes, they say the baby has arrived. Do you understand? You know, and so he knew that he needed a little time to, you know, get my mind, set my mind to thinking, and then set me in motion and put my mind back into the scriptures so that Allah could talk to me. And so he had to prepare me. That's why it's written, it says, behold, I send my messenger and he shall prepare the way before who? Before me. So that is what the God did. See, the God for the past 6,000 years, his name was Yaqub. And so he revealed the devil and revealed me. He revealed to me who I am. Do you understand? That's why it's written, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of who? The God of Jacob. Yes. And so Jacob was not our enemy. Yaqub was not our enemy. He made an enemy for us in order for us to have something to overcome and to strive against, and it worked. And so now I'm here, and there ain't no white man or no group of white men or nobody else on this planet can get in here and argue with me on nothing that I'm teaching. So, and now the jealous Negroes, and that's all they are, just jealous Negroes that never got out of that. They, you know, they call themselves black, but they still Negroes. And they hate me because of who I am. And that's just jealousy and envy. And the messenger warned them. He said, jealousy and envy will not make you successful. You see. So it says, those whom we have given the book recognize him as they recognize their what? So you notice Solomon, when you read Proverbs, he's addressing his words to his son. He said, and further, my son this, my son that. The Holy Quran addresses itself like a father to his son or to his child. It says, say so-and-so and such and so and so. They say so-and-so. And say, O disbeliever, I serve not that which you serve. He gave me the answer to all these people that don't believe I'm the Son of Man. You see, like he said, say, O disbeliever, I serve not that which you serve, nor do you serve him whom I serve. Nor shall I serve that which you serve, nor do you serve him whom I serve. For you is your recompense or reward, and for me is mine. Do you understand? So it's nothing that you say or do that Allah have not already let me know what to say to you about it. You see, when they come in here cussing and swearing, Allah already told me their mouths are filled with cursing and bitterness, and the poison of asps is under their tongues, under their lips. Yeah. You see, so you ain't doing nothing that I wasn't told about. You're the one that's surprised. I'm not surprised. Allah told me you wasn't going to accept me. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. If my own had received me, I might not have never met none of y'all. If the nation of Islam had accepted me, oh, they'd all be living large and be rich now and be at peace. But they followed a hypocrite. You see? In Message to the Black Man, he talking about the messenger told him about his son. Yeah, told you about him in Message to the Black Man, him and Malcolm and his grandson, Sharif. He told you about all of them. It's in the answer to the critics. I'm the son that was promised to all of them. I'm called Son of Man. You see? And so, you know, so he bore witness that the messenger told him that Allah promised him a son. Common sense tell you he wasn't talking about the kind of son that he thought he was talking about, because the messenger had already some sons. But he didn't have this son. So Allah, he had me prepared, and at the proper time, he gave me to the messenger. I got ran into the nation because I was a nervous wreck when I was got out of the Marine Corps. And I got to the point where any loud noise was just a backfire of a car. I just, I hate to even think about it. But, you know, when I accepted Islam, noises stopped bothering me. So I know I got ran into the nation. That's all. And Allah sent me to Brother Donald, gave me somebody that wouldn't turn me off. Because you heard him, what he told you, that I was very, for real, I was honest. I mean, I don't be bothered with no crook. You know, I'd seen enough of them. And but Brother Donald, he was a decent man, decent brother. And I just like one of the sisters asked him a question, did he believe I'm the Son of Man? I was kind of shocked at that. I didn't say nothing, but I didn't even want him to ask that. That's not, that's, you know, that wasn't, you know, it wasn't improper. It just kind of surprised me. But I didn't bring him here to see if he believed in me. I brought him here to let you meet the person who introduced me to Islam, you see. And it's clear that obviously he didn't believe in me as being the Son of Man. That's a hard jump to make when somebody knew you when you was smoking and doing stuff like that. So most of y'all didn't believe in me when you first met me. Took time, didn't it? What if somebody had asked you that when you first, you know, I mean, people that's been knowing you the longest will be the last ones to believe you something special. So, but he dealt with it. I thought he dealt with it pretty good, you know, but that wasn't what I brought him for. I just wanted you to see the kind of person that Allah used to get me to the messenger, you know, and I wasn't, you know, I had already, didn't you hear him tell you that I had been telling him what I was about a long time? And he just smiled because he didn't believe me. And but he was surprised when he came here and saw all that I had been accomplishing, and still doing what I told him that I was given to do by Allah. And he had a more measure of respect for me there, you see. And so, you know, I have no doubt that if it's meant to be, he will one day join with me. But if not, I will still lower my wing to him. I will lower my wing to him because of what he did for me, you know, by introducing me to the new Islam that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was here to lay the foundation for. And so I will always, it's just like, it's another one. If I get a chance, I'll introduce you to Lieutenant Bartha. You know, he was brother had just a big heart, and he loved his brother. You know, he would lay his life down for you. You know, and I always respected his bravery. You know, Lieutenant Bartha would he'd fight a grizzly bear. That brother was something, you know, and was just as humble to brothers, you know. But you know, he was, and there's so many brothers. Like, y'all met Fatih, you know. So, you know, I will always remember them brothers. You know, they took care of me when I was little in knowledge. So you don't burn the bridge that brought you across. You reverence those who were pioneers, and they held the door open for you. So, but anyway, so you know, he stood up there and trying to suggest that he was, you know, he'd been telling them, the people who follow him, that he was just trying to keep bloodshed down by standing up there. No, he wanted, he was crying because the officials didn't choose him. Instead, they chose Wallace, so he had to go along with it. But he wouldn't have had to feel bad if he had been true to the messenger, because the messenger had told all of them that wasn't nobody coming behind him but God. It wasn't for them to make a choice for nobody. It was for them to wait on the Lord. And I would have presented myself to them if they had let me. But they didn't let me. They didn't want me. They wanted to take over. Now, what have they accomplished? Got these people running around here talking about they in the Nation of Islam. You're not in no Nation of Islam. The only ones in the Nation of Islam is those who submitting to me. Islam means entire submission to the will of God. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. And if you're not submitting to me, you're not in my nation. And I don't care how mad you get, that show you a liar when you say you believe the teachings. You ask him, who is the original man? He didn't say who was. Do you know what original means? It means first. The prophets didn't have the audacity that you have. They acknowledge that it does not yet appear what we shall be. but we shall be like him when he appears. Who is the he? The original man. That's me. So you can get mad all you want. That ain't gonna help you. That's not gonna change nothing. Now, before I let you go, it's only just that I hear arguments against anything that I've said. If you got an argument, let me hear it. What you think because I can't get but 1 out of 1,000 that's somehow going to stop me? No. On the day when we say to hell, art thou filled up, it will respond, are there any more? Prophet Muhammad already told him how many for hell. 999 out of every 1,000. Jesus simply said, broad is the way and wide is the gate that lead to destruction. And many there are which go in therein. Man, come and bragging to me because, wait, can you get 1 million men to march anywhere? No, I guess not. Broad is the way. No, I'm looking for quality, not quantity. If you're building something that's going to last forever, you don't use inferior material. And anybody that humbled themselves to the devil after God have shown up, they have an inferior mind, and proof of it, they humbled themselves to an inferior one. I mean, I'm proving that the devil's mind is inferior to mine. I'm standing up here talking to the whole world, and you ain't produced a mind yet that can stand up and argue with me. All you can do is come in here cussing and swearing going on. That's not arguing. Bring me some facts that disprove something that I said. If I had time, I would really go into some deeper teachings with you. But I thought I would share that with you. I'm gonna leave politics alone now. I done gave them their warning and told them I'm with them if they want to save their country and save themselves. They in my prayers and they have my support. The prayers of a righteous man avails much. So don't be afraid to stand up for what's right. I'm with you. And that means Allah is with you. You stand up for what's right. And people call themselves threatening you. All they're doing is bringing swift destruction on themselves. Don't be afraid of them. I'm not afraid of them. And don't you be afraid of them. Of course, I don't too much have to tell you that. If you love your country and love your people, perfect love casteth out fear. So, all right. Then I'm going to let you go because this is Wednesday. We all got to go to work tomorrow. So may Allah bless us and keep us safe and in our right minds. And I look forward to talking with you again Friday. May Allah's Salam Alaikum.
This session is no longer being recorded.